Here's the problem with our form of government at the moment. Let's say our three branches of government. Could the existing three branches of government get us to a good outcome with the coronavirus? I would say no. I think you need a fourth branch of government, let's say Twitter. And what I mean by that is that Twitter acts as a check and balance on the other parts of government. So and also on the press. So in the old days, the press and the government, who often worked together a little too well, could control what you do. And if it didn't come through the news, and it didn't come from the government, well, how would you know what was happening? So what's the opposite of leadership? Since leadership can't work, and we have a system with three branches of government and leadership, and it's just the wrong system. It can't make a decision like this. So what's the opposite? I don't know if this is a word, but let's call it a followership. But because Twitter allows everybody to be weaponized, just yesterday I think, the Tara Reid story. Tara Reid gave some interview or something. The AP published a headline, and within a minute, Tara Reid is reading the headline, gets on Twitter, and tweets that the headline is false. Would you have known that without Twitter? You heard it right from the actual source. Now, there's more to the story, but that's not important to my point. My point is that Twitter has allowed you to see behind the curtain, because there's always somebody who is there. The news can report one thing, but it takes 5 minutes to say, but I was there. I was actually there, and that's not what happened. So I think Twitter, somewhat accidentally, has evolved to be like a fourth branch of government. Now, when I said that on Twitter, a lot of people said, hey, you can't say that because we didn't elect them. They were not elected. Twitter is not elected. To which I say, have you heard of the Supreme Court? They're not elected. You could say, well, but they're appointed by people who are, all right. But the point is, we can make the government anything we want. There's no rule that says every part of it has to be elected. I would say that the Twitter is essentially an extension of the population, the voters. So the voters were always part of the Constitution. The voters always had the right of free speech. So Twitter is just magnifying really the power of the public to be a check and balance on the government. But let's take that idea and take it to the coronavirus situation. Here's the problem with our form of government at the moment. Let's say our three branches of government. Could the existing three branches of government get us to a good outcome with the coronavirus? I would say no. I think you need a fourth branch of government, let's say Twitter, to get us a good result, and here's why. Because we have the wrong system for this specific problem. Our system of government is really, really good for a bunch of stuff. For example, if your country is attacked, your federal government is a really good choice for putting an army together to defend your country. Right? So federal government, real good on national defense and armies. But the who decides depends on what the question is. There are some things that are driven down to the city or the state, some things driven down to the individual, etc. So the who decides is a big deal. And this is more important because of the coronavirus story. Somebody is going to have to die. Meaning that no matter what we do, in terms of either going back to work soon or not going back to work soon, those two decisions will determine who dies. Not specifically, but it will determine which group gets the most impact. So, name any elected official, given our three branches of government, tell me which official within our existing three branches is capable of making a public decision about which of these three groups is going to be the victim in order to get to the other side. So do we make a decision that's bad for poor people? Which elected official is going to do that? I'd say none. Which elected official is going to say, well, we're going to make some decisions, it's going to be really bad for unhealthy people? Nobody can do that. Our system doesn't let you do that, because you can never run for office again. It's just impossible. You couldn't do it. So you can't go after old people, unhealthy people, or poor people. But this coronavirus situation, unfortunately, has put us in a situation where you absolutely have to choose. You actually have to choose. Are we going to screw the poor people, screw the unhealthy, screw the old? And of course, there's lots of overlap, right? The poor people have more health problems, so they're also unhealthy. So which politician gets to decide who to screw? We don't have that system. And the problem is that leadership doesn't work for the coronavirus, because no leader can say, yeah, I'm going to screw the poor people, but you old people and unhealthy people, you win. It's the poor people who are going to have a problem. Can't do it. So what's the opposite of leadership? Since leadership can't work, and we have a system with 3 branches of government and leadership, and it's just the wrong system. It can't make a decision like this. So what's the opposite? I don't know if this is a word, but let's call it followership. Maybe things depend on public opinion. Maybe Twitter is a big part of that, because Twitter is building public opinion. I'm sure even the protests probably get organized on social media, probably a lot of them on Twitter. So Twitter and opinion polls become sort of that 4th branch of government which can actually make these decisions.